buying other power of 100 megawatt from utility Isaac would have to pay $1,767.5 per hour. That's the different prices, and that's just an example, an illustration of what an interchange can benefit each utility. And those numbers can be different in case the order of the interchange are changed. For example, here we start the utility Isaac buys 300 megawatts from utility Sharaz and then sell 100 megawatt to utility Ahmed. If utility Isaac buys sells 100 megawatt to utility Ahmed before buying the 300 megawatt from utility Sharaz, the price will be completely different. We can see it here using this PPT. I can put the two together so that we make the difference. So the utility here, the utility Ahmed will be paying a total of 1,767.5 under the first case. Under the second case, if the utility Isaac was selling to utility Ahmed before buying the 300 megawatt, to pay the utility Ahmed will pay a total of $1,811 per hour, which is a huge increase for the utility Ahmed. The same thing for the utility B. For the utility Sharaz, the utility Sharaz will receive a total of $5,094 per hour under the first case. But under the second case, it will be receiving a total of 5,138, which is an increase in its saving. And then the utility Ahmed, the utility Isaac, which is the middle, which is in between the two utilities and acting as the middle party, will be paying the same amount, which is $3,327 per hour. So that's all for me. Those are the examples to illustrate the benefit of the interchange in the economic aspect. I will let my colleague come and present the next part. Thank you.
Yes, there is this saying that divided we fall, united we stand. And as my colleagues have already presented theirs, I'm also here to continue with where they left off. And I would want to touch on some calculations pertaining to the economic utility. Before I even start, the total between them. Now, as they've already reiterated that systems interconnect because the interconnected system is reliable. It's also better to and also it is being operated at a lesser cost.
Isaac, share your screen for us.
Lauchi, I'm coming to share my screen. So, as my friends have already said, we are going to talk about these calculations because they've already started talking about the calculations. They've already given us the introduction and what have you. So, I would want to touch on the calculations. And if we look at the two utilities that you've been given. You've been given utility A, you've been given utility B. And under each circumstance, we need to find the power at which it is being operated, because we have the minimum power and then we have the maximum power. So we need to find the exact operation or the exact power that each utility is being operated. So in our case, we have a system whereby we have 1,122, and okay, so we have been given P. For our P1 has been given to be 322.7, and we want to find the power in which it operates. So we have been given 3. We have been given P1, P2, and P3, all for utility A. So what you have to do is we have to calculate for each and every one. So at the end of the day, we are finding the sum of the first utility or utility A. So we have something like F total, I'll take it as F total, being equal to the F1, that is F1, the utility A, F1 plus the F2 plus the F3. And if we sum everything together, my mouse is really disturbing. Lashley, please, I'm coming. My mouse is disturbing me. Okay. So if we look at the point that we've been given, we have P1, P2, P3. Now we need to substitute the P1, P2, and P3 into each of the components that we have been given. And doing the calculation for F total under the first utility A gives us a total of 13,677.24 megawatts. And if after we have got this, we need to find the lambda for area A. So all that we are going to do is we are going to, I want to open a sheet. All that we are going to do is we want to use, we want to find our lambda, and lambda, I want to stop the screen. So our lambda is, for the first part, lambda minus 15.84 over 6. Let me. My screen is blank. Please, can you see my screen?
No, sir. It's black.
No,
Okay.
The screen has paused.
It's just broke.
Okay. Let me start sharing again.
Just finish and reshare again.
Okay, let me start.
Yes.
Yes. So we have our utility 1 and utility 2. For utility 1, our P1 is 322.7. So for us to get the power in utility 1 under area A. Substituting it will give us 6,558.89 megawatts. And if we substitute
Excuse me,
our
Isaac.
pardon?
We can't see your screen, bro.
You can't see my screen.
Yeah.
Wow.
Please open it. We can only see those pages, 8 pages with your handwriting. Yes, now we can see it.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Welcome.
So we want to find P1, P2, and P3. And how do you find P1, P2, P, and P3? We use our lambda to find, and finding our lambda will mean that we have to sum the utility under area 1, that is P1, P2, and P3. Now summing, we are operating under 700 megawatts. So summing all these together will give us a lambda of 17.856. And we then continue to solve for our utility. So after we have finished solving for our lambda, we then cross-check and see if we are going to get our 700 back. Now, under utility 1, we had a total of we have a total power for area A to be 13,677.24 megawatts. And now we need to find our lambda. We also found our lambda to be 17.857. Now, this would then take us to finding our utility B, just as we have done for utility A. Now we need to sum everything together, and under utility A, utility B, as you can see on my screen, we were given this to find. So we want to find our P4, P5, and P6. But mind you, P4, P5, and P6 are the same, so it's just more like a repetition. So substituting or finding our P4 and P5 using the lambda will help us get our utility B. And for the first part, we had by calculation, gives us utility A or utility B gives us 4,924.34, and working for utility B, the first part, that is 4, will give us 8,713.32 megawatts, and then working for the 5 and 6, each will give us 4,924.34. Now, if we were to sum everything together, if we were to sum the utility B together, this will give us a total of 18,562 megawatts. And using that we will use that to find, or we now have to find the lambda for B. And this, as we see, we have the differential of the differential. So we have 13.41 plus 5.282 under the fourth area that we are looking for, and this will give us this calculation. So in all, we have to add the utility for P, P4, P5, and P6, which is a sum of 1,100. We are operating at 1,100 megawatts. So then we have to find our lambda. So by calculation, as you can see on my screen, gives us a total of 16.185 as our lambda. Then we have to also find their individual powers. And finding their individual powers for P4 gives us 524.7, meaning that that's the operation at which it is operating. And looking at the other parts too gives us 287.7 megawatts. So using the different powers, we have to calculate the net cost, and that gives us a total of 8,715 megawatts. Then summing everything together for utility B gives us 18,569.26 megawatts. Then we look at their power interchange. Now, as we have done for both utility A and utility B, a sum of the total power, that is P1 plus P2 plus P3 plus P4 plus P5 plus P6, will give us a total of 1,800 megawatts. And then we've already found our calculations. So working with our lambdas will be easier for us. So we have 10 exponent 3 into the bracket of all these things, it being equals to 1,800 megawatts. So working this will give us a lambda of 16.99. And we then have to work for our utility A. Under utility A, we have, so we are now talking about our economic dispatch during their interconnections. So I will call this prime. So during the first prime, during the interconnected P1, P2, P3, looking at the calculations here, we have P1 giving us 18.4 megawatts, P2 giving us 166.2 megawatts, and P3 giving us 54.4 megawatts. So summing them together will give us a total of 404.6 megawatts. Then we look at utility B, which we have already found the lambda to be 16.99. So we substitute everything, and that one also gives us the P4 to be 590 megawatts, P5 to be 402.7 megawatts, the same as the P6. So summing the utility B prime, as I call it, to be 1,394.4 megawatts. So during their interchange, we can obtain these values. So P1, that is utility A, and utility A prime will give us, under utility A we had 700, and then under utility A prime we had 406 megawatts. So this gives us a total, when by calculation, this gives us a total of 295.4 megawatts. Utility B prime minus utility B gives us 1,395 minus 1,100 megawatts gives us a total of 295.4 megawatts. So their interchange we could see here is 295.4 megawatts. So we then look at their cost during the interchange. Under the utility 1, this is what we had, and 2, so all these values are for utility A under the prime. So when we consider the F1, F2, and F3, this gives us a total. By this calculation, the 4,142.33, 3,336.73, 1,051.87. Summing these three together gives us a total of 8,530.93. Then we do the same for utility B, and this gives us, under the region or section A, section B for the fourth power generation, we had 9,787.37. Same for 5 and 6. 5 and 6 are both the same. So in all, we have a total of 23,453.89. So summing their primes together will give us 31,984.82 megawatts. Then looking at the cost, the net cost and savings of the different utilities. Now, when you look at utility A and utility B, before interchange and after interchange. Now, before interchange, we have 13,677.25 for A, and then for B, we had 18,569.26. Now, summing before and after gives us a total of 32,246.51. And when you look at their interchange afterwards, we had 8,530.93. And then for B, we had 23,453.89. And adding these two together also gives us 31,984.82. And we want to look at their cost savings. Now, both had their own savings. Now, savings for A was 5,146.32, and that for B was 4,884.63. Now, finding their difference gives us a total of 261.69. So, the utility A has decrease of 5,146.32 as its cost net. And then that for utility B has also increased and has a total of 4,884.63. So this interchange system can be called, you can say that it's effective because the net power production cost after the interchange system is lower than that of the one we started with. So we have a net saving of 261.69. So depending on the interchange agreement that was earlier on stated, we could see that our system has been effectively been used. So we can see here that there has been an effective use of power sharing because each has been able to have a savings because the main agreement for operating at the search is making sure that economic-wise, each party doesn't lose, and both utility A and utility B are all having a portion of money to save. So we could see that this system is very effective to be used for both utility A and utility B. Now, at this juncture, I would want to call on my other colleague to also continue with the. Thank you.
Hey everyone, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
I am
yes.
Samuel.
Can't hear
All right, thank you, thank you. I will present the multi-utility interchange. So, most power systems are interconnected with all the immediate systems. So one system may buy and the other system may sell. So this interchange
sure.
power. Can you see my screen? Hello.
I still not.
Really?
Maybe it's my connection.
But the other say yes, so I think I have to continue. The other say yes. Okay, Lashi, can you see my screen? Hello?
Yes, yes, we can see.
All right, thank you. One system may buy and the other system may sell, so this interchange power simultaneously with several neighbors. So the price for interchange must be set while taking account of the other interchange. Prices are derived from the incremental cost of the various utility system. So this graph shows us the cost curve for a utility in the system. So for a load A, when we say the utility, we can define their own operation policy by importing and exporting power from the network according to the price level. So this L is the load level. For a load level, the utility is operating at a marginal cost level, which is lambda naught df by dt is equal to d plus 2c in the net cost of dollar per hour. This D and C are the cost function. So when we say the marginal cost level, we can find as a function of the total cost of production, which include a fixed and variable costs. That is this one, the marginal load cost. And for a load, this lambda naught F by dt is equal to d plus 2cl, which this cost represents the minimum increment in total generation cost of the utility to supply an additional unit of generation over utility load level A. So for a load level A, the unit is willing to add an incremental P prime, which is this one P prime, to its generation and sell it to incremental system and benefit associated with the transaction and greater than or at least equal to this one change F single prime. Change F single prime is equals to the price, the cost price of P prime plus A, which is the load, plus the price of Fn, which is N. So when we see the ratio of the incremental cost, that is pi, is change of F single prime here, change of F single prime by change of P. This is equals to A plus B P prime plus L plus C times P prime plus L square minus A plus BL plus CL square over P prime plus L minus L, which is this P prime plus L and P prime plus L, where A, B, and C are the cost function. This is because the product of this price and the incremental power represents the incremental cost of the utility, which is the time. So the minimum price to accept for an import is, which is we are to export is we are exporting this P single prime. So this will be pi is equal to lambda plus CP single prime, where the utility will say P single prime to incremental to interconnect system by increasing the local generation at a price of equal to this pi or larger than this pi. But when we want to buy the P double prime, the cost will be pi is equal to lambda naught minus CP double prime. This is for the importing. The utility will buy in P double prime megawatt at a price of almost equal to pi, which is lambda naught minus CP double prime. This double prime we are importing when we add the single prime this when we want to export or to sell a car. This graph, it shows us the offer and request call price graph. So we want the utility will be willing to put a price to import lambda minus PV power from the network. When we are saying the marginal cost is offered to define the level of importing or exporting power. So we want to import lambda minus PV power from the network. So first we have to know the local or the marginal cost of which is the L. So the cost of L is equal to the cost of PV here, the cost of PV plus lambda times L minus PV, where L minus PV is the part of the import to the network from the network. So the utility will supply this load, which is this load at price of lambda minimum. This lambda minimum they want to supply. So the cost of supplying PV locally using an equivalent generator is given as the cost of PV, which is this one, the cost of PV. The cost of PV is equal to cost of L minus lambda L minus PV. And as we say here, the utility may supply this load at price of lambda minimum, which is this lambda minimum. This will be equal to lambda minimum A minus lambda A plus lambda PV. So when we want to replacing lambda is equal to lambda minimum plus NPV, if we when we are replacing lambda is equal to lambda minimum in the power, the cost of the power will be lambda minimum minus lambda A plus lambda. So the cost of P lambda minimum NPV times A plus lambda times NPV. So here lambda minimum is lambda minimum. So the power will be PV lambda minus NPV plus NPV squared. So when in the PV is the power generation by the local generator, and N is the slope of the required price, and lambda minimum is the price required for replacing the local generation with importing the power. So when we replacing the N, which is the slope of the price, is equal to lambda minus lambda minimum over N. It will be the cost of PV will be PV lambda minimum minus lambda minimum over N times N. N by N becomes C. So the cost at PV will be PV T lambda minimum minus lambda plus N. And this will be the cost at the which is the cost at this one will be 2 lambda plus NPV times NPV. When you are saying the load and this one, the marginal cost is with 5 it as a level of importing or exporting power. So the cost of the equivalent at each generation level agree with the cost of the importing something that is the utility is importing P, which is the power from the meter. So the cost of the utility will be 2 lambda minus lambda plus N minus P times lambda minus P plus lambda N times P. This will be the cost if the utility wants to import a power from the meter. So a group of utility power system from a powerful is the price must be set by the power and induction price policy, and to establish the centralized control system. So that's when there is no centralized system. The order is which transaction elements are executed is very important in testing the interchange. So, multiple library interchange engage in which is simple stated meaning is the transaction from one utility to one or more intermediate utility system, a sub-utility system. We can see this example. Okay, you can see my screen. This we can serve this system is it shows us the use of load flow of power flow to initialize a simple 5-bus network. So this wind farm is connected to 25 distribution figure, and this wind farm is exporting to a 120 kV. This one, the 125 kV network is modeled by a simple inductor voltage source that is short circuit power of 200 MV. This is the 3-phase power circuit level that is 200 MVA using the 3-phase source. So this power is exporting from the wind farm, and this one is 150 megawatt power plant. This one is the area 2. This one is area 2. So this area 2 power plant is a sequence generator, but this wind farm is a sequence generator. So this 9 megawatt wind farm is exporting power for the networking, that is 120 kV. And the 150 megawatt power plant is using 13.8 kV sequence generator, is connected to 120 kV bus through a transformer. So this area 2 and area 1 are connected through the networking, the 120 kV. So what I'm trying to explain here is the whole system is a positive sequential flow. We are saying this positive sequential flow because if you perform a positive sequential flow, which is we can see we have 5 paths, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can see it on the screen. So each bus is connected to one phase, which is we can see this bus is only connected to phase C. And you can see this one also only connected to phase A. So every bus is connected to a single phase. That's why we are calling this one positive sequence load flow. So when we are saying load flow, it studies a numerical analysis of the flow of electric power in interconnected systems. So which means this load flow is interconnected. Okay, we interconnected electric power into the system. So, as they explained, my friends before, they are saying that we have to know after and before the host. So, to this system to know the initial host, the initial system, we can say that. Power load flow powerful flow, which is can show us the initial information. Yes, we can see from this one we have only the sequence generator, which is the wind farm is connected to this dynamic load, and we start substitute the power of this substitute. That's what I took. You can see it from the information that they give us. This means it gives us the notification. And if we want to see the detailed information on each bus, which is to know the electric flow in the interconnected system, we can say report. If we take time, we have to give it time, then it will give us a lot in here. So it gives us this on each bus, what will be highly active papers. In each bus, there is a the bus is the one that is a flow of electric in the interconnected system. So here we can have a detailed flow that at each bus by using the command. So if you guys are interested on the utility interchange, you can go through MATLAB and there are a lot of information to know to understand how it works and the parameter also through the MATLAB. It is really interesting. So thank you so much, guys, and I would like to thank also to Lashi because it is really good opportunity to give you a lecture to students. And yes, thank you, Lashi, and thank you guys for the for the okay, thank you guys.
Thank you. I think it's very long. No, I think all of us. Laoshi. Hello, Laoshi.
Lashi, can you?